So this is a take two because, well, my first one sucked. So this video is about urethral diverticulum. So it is a condition that I currently have, and it is a condition that I was diagnosed with last summer after like a year and a half of struggling with the symptoms. So if you are here, you are probably either suspecting that you have this or you were recently diagnosed with this. So I've been wanting to do this video and this series of videos, because it's actually going to be a series, since I was diagnosed last year. It was, so leading up to my diagnosis and surgery, it was a long road, frustrating road that I have heard others go through too. There is a Facebook group that I found, which was so helpful. I'm going to try to put the link. I don't know how to do YouTube, so I'm going to figure this out as I go. But I'm going to link to this Facebook group, which is huge. Oh my God, it was so helpful. So urethral diverticulum is it's rare disorder of the urethral, and it's, like it says, diverticulum. So it is a pouch that grows out of your urethra. So you get like a hole, and it creates this like a balloon basically outside of your urethra, and it gets filled with, I guess, urine. I don't know. I'm assuming it's urine, but they can be infected, and you can, have the nasty infection in there and everything else. I guess there can be stones in there. Mine wasn't. Mine was just fluid. So, and in rare instances, I know that they can have cancerous tumors. Like, I don't know how you would describe it, but you can have cancer from them. Like that is something that they can develop into. It's even rarer. So rare to get the urethral diverticulum, super rare to have cancer in it. And I did not have cancer in mine. Okay, so urethral diverticulum, very rare. The reason why I am making this video and why I wanted to make it so much is because when I found out that this is what I had, the first thing I did was go to YouTube and like Googling it. And no, there was like 2 videos from other ladies who were going through it. And thank you for putting that out there, because it was something, we live in a YouTube social media world. I say YouTube, but it's really social media. So we like to hear other stories. We want to know what to expect. We want to know what other people are going through if we're trying to find, sorry, I had those on, but if we're trying to get diagnosed, we want to hear from other people. That's the world that we live in, with the sharing. And so I was looking for that. And I found 2 stories, which I was thankful for finding them, but it was not the volume I was looking for. And then I later found the Facebook group, which was super helpful, and I was thrilled to find that. But I wanted to get something out there on YouTube. So if other people were in the same boat and they were searching, they could get another story, another person's experience to add to that collective. And maybe it will even inspire more people to get out there and share this, because it is really a painful condition, I guess you want to call it. I mean, it really took over my life while it was going on. And I mean, so caveat, mine came back almost instantly. So I'm about to go back through a revision surgery, which is why I was like, man, I've really got to get this up there. Because last time I wanted to take that video so people could walk through the whole experience with me and kind of get an idea of what to expect. But yeah, I failed. I didn't do it. And unfortunately, it did come back. So here's my, nudge from above. Do it this time. So that's what I'm trying to do. So this video is just to kind of get that backstory. I have my appointment with my doctor September 3rd. And I don't know if it's going to be considered the pre-op or if he's going to do another one before scheduling the surgery. But it's, when he did another MRI and said, yes, it's come back. And he's like, we need to do revision surgery if you want. I do, obviously I'm having problems. So not the same level of pain, but we'll get into that later. Another video. Like, this is the first one. I'm going to talk about the first situation in this video, the first one. So I told him, I was like, I've got work issues and everything else. So I basically kicked that can down the road until this fall, which we are now here. So yeah, that's second round. I'll tackle that in a separate video. This is the first one. So what is the background? How did I get this urethral diverticulum? They don't really know what causes them. I kind of suspect that I developed this from childbirth because I had a lot of urinary infections with my second, third, fourth. At one point I was on prophylactis, I don't know, antibiotics. Hey baby, my doggy's here. Come here, baby. Oh, come here. Oh, okay. So I was put on prophylactic antibiotics because I just kept coming up with urinary infections. So I kind of think that it was something that I developed during the pregnancies, but it just it didn't develop into what it did until after I had my hysterectomy. So I'm going to hit the fast forward button from that. I had symptoms during my pregnancies, but here we are. I'm 49. I'm having tons of abnormal uterine bleeding, and they're like, oh, you've got this condition that's known for, it's basically precancer, and it's pretty aggressive precancer. Like, I think my doctor said 49% go on to have, hey baby, have cancer within, like 5 years. So it was pretty bad. And he's like, we really need to do a hysterectomy. You're done having kids. No reason not to. And I was like, sign me up. And while you're there, just take it all. Because I had like cervical problems after my kids and just some weird stuff. So I was like, you know what? I don't need any of it. Just take it all. And once you have that big C coming at you, you don't want to risk anything. So I've been terrified of ovarian cancer, cervical cancer, just like everybody else, I think. I don't know. I'm always freaked out about cancer. I hate to say it, but it's the only thing that kills my family. It's cancer. So if you're going to be in there anyway, just take it all. So again, had the hysterectomy. I go into surgical menopause, which I was 49. I kind of thought, oh, I'm probably already there. No, this was rough, but I was recovering just fine. Typical recovery. Started back to work, I think 4 weeks, 5 weeks. I was like, man, I think I got a UTI going on. And again, I've had a history of UTI, so I didn't really think too much of it. I had my 6-week post-op coming up. So I was like, let me just see if it gets worse. It did, of course, right? So I go to my 6th week and I let my doctor know, yeah, I think I got a UTI. And he said, well, everything looks good, but your symptoms are pretty classic for UTI. So I'm going to give you the antibiotics. We're going to do your analysis and we'll just go from there. So this is the start. This is where it begins. So I had the hysterectomy December of 2021, the end of 21. Symptoms started the end of January 22. And they were just UTI symptoms. I had the burning when I go to the bathroom and just, generic pain. Wasn't feeling great. frequent, that urge to go, you know, just classic UTI symptoms. So that was a Wednesday, got the antibiotics, started them that night. By Friday night, I'm sitting there and I'm like, you know, tell my husband, I mean, things are not, they don't seem to be improving. And he's like, well, call your doctor. And I don't. You guys, I'm going to admit it. I have a problem with calling my doctors. I hate reaching out. I feel like I'm a trouble, a burden. I don't like to pester them. So I kind of put it off. But by the start of next week, I was like, no, God, no, this is awful. You know, this really hurts. So I called, left a message. Nurse takes down what's going on, and I don't think it was my doctor that called back. I think it was the nurse called back, and my doctor was out of the office, so it was another doctor, and they basically said, yeah, you know, this happens to women once they're thrown into menopause like this, or just menopause in general, was not necessarily surgical only. Like, this just happens with menopause. And, you know, it fits the timeline, so we think you just need to take some medication that should help with it. And so here's where I get fuzzy. I don't remember the exact order of the medications that he had me try, because my doctor took over my care after he got back from leave. But I'm just going to do a caveat that they tried a bunch of treatments, like from the end of January to like April, different medications. So amitriptyline, vaginal cream, Premarin. I eventually did end up going on the patch because I was also having menopause symptoms that were horrible. And the patch helped with the menopause, yay, but not so much for the urinary stuff. And culminated with, I think it was April, he's like, we got to send you to pelvic floor physical therapy. Okay. We did that. I went there. It is not fun. I did not enjoy this. No, there's nothing enjoyable about having somebody massage the inside of your vaginal vault, whatever, however you want to say it. TMI. If you're here watching this video, odds are you've probably been through this, but it didn't help. Matter of fact, it made things worse. It hurt a lot. And when she was doing it, she would hit this one spot. I was like, oh Lord, that hurts significantly. So we tried it. I want to say it was like 3 or 4 weeks. She's like, yeah, no, this shouldn't be hurting you like this. This is not normal. I'm going to push you back to your doctor and have him check things out. And my doctor did an exam. He's like, yeah, you know, I feel a lump here, but you know, extra tissue. Nothing was really jumping out at him. But he was like, let's try some injections, some trigger point injections, because at this point they were starting to suspect maybe it's my muscles, you know, maybe there's some tight muscles, you know, causing the pain. So this is now summer of 22. So this has been going on for like 6 months. So we start doing injections, and they are anti-inflammatory injections. What was it? There's like 3 different types. We end up settling on a combination of doing Botox and a pudendal nerve block. And that's what we end up using up until my surgery for the urethral diverticulum. So did get some pain relief from that. But, you know, we tried these injections. We tried doing the injections along with the physical therapy, but the physical therapy was just causing so much pain, because anytime she would get up in there and just push things, it was just really painful. So I'm still having these UTI symptoms. I am having so much pelvic pain. I am living on Motrin. I am living on my heating pad. Like, I can't sit down without sitting on a heating pad. And the pressure when I would sleep, you know, it was so weird. And I described it to the doctor. I said, I don't know. It's like a pressure when I lay on my side in bed. So I was miserable. Like, this was really a difficult thing to deal with. And I think it was June or July, he put in a referral for urology. So it had been about 6-7 months. And he's like, man, I don't know what's going on. You know, he's a GYN doctor, and he is an amazing GYN doctor. I love this guy. But he didn't know. And he's like, you know, just to cover our bases, let me send you to urology. So I get the referral to urology, and oh my God, it was so bad. This doctor was so bad. I've been very fortunate. I have not had really any bad doctors. I think he's actually probably the worst I've ever had. He was very short. He didn't want to really be doing anything. He kept cutting me off. And he was like, well, I don't even know why you're here. Your doctor's doing everything that I would do, but, you know, we can do a cystoscopy. So I'm like, you know, at this point, I'm pretty nervous about a cystoscopy because things hurt badly down below. So I mentioned it to him, and he's like, no, I need you awake so you can, you know, tell me what hurts. I'm like, well, it all hurts, but, you know, I naively believe what he's saying. He was in there to do a cystoscopy, and he didn't ask me one question. It literally hurt so bad that I couldn't even, I couldn't even speak. It was so bad. It hurt. Oh my God. It was probably right up there with the pain when you push your child out, you know, if you don't have an epidural. Which I did that for my second. It literally feels like you're being ripped open. That's what it felt like. Not to freak people out, but it was just because that area was just so painful. And he basically is like, it's normal. Go back to your doctor. Let him keep doing what he's doing. So, okay. So I do that. And I actually got about 6 weeks. So he had done a set of injections at the beginning of September, right before my second son was married, which was good timing because I got a little bit of relief right before the wedding, and then entered into this period over the holidays where I felt great. You know, it was really funny because it was the first bout of actual relief I'd had, but it came back at the end of the holidays. It was like the end of December. The symptoms just roared right back, and I was back in the depths of hell with this thing. So it's now been a year. Still don't know what's causing it. The theory is muscle spasms, you know, unknown pelvic pain is kind of what they were just chalking it up to be. Painful bladder syndrome, you know, they were throwing out a couple different names, but nobody really had a diagnosis. And kind of, you know, progressed. I had some more injections after the symptoms came back. That was February. You know, I think it got into March, and I was just like, you know, I was looking for answers. I was looking for anything that I could cling to. And one of the things that I was having was when I would sit on the ground, it hurt, you know. So when I'm doing yoga, when I'm working out with my personal trainer, because I'd been working on weight loss and getting healthy, you know, after the hysterectomy, it was kind of a wake-up call that, you know, you probably need to take this a little bit more seriously, because uterine cancer is one of the risks that increases your odds of getting it is being overweight. And I was. So I had never lost the baby weight from my last baby. And he was 24. He was 24 at that time. So, you know, I needed to lose the weight. So I was taking everything seriously. I was doing yoga, but every time I got down on the floor of the gym or my house, it hurt to sit. I couldn't use my Peloton bike that I'd spent so much money on because it hurt. So I went back to my primary, and I'm like, you know, is there something wrong with my tailbone? Is that maybe part of the problem? Is it like pulling on muscles down there? Could this be part of this picture? And he's like, I don't really know. But we can get an x-ray. So we did the x-ray, and the x-ray came back as abnormal because I had this really acute angle. So, a tailbone, maybe it's supposed to be like that, but mine was like that. So it's not super rare, but it's not common either. Like, it can be associated with pain, and it can happen like from trauma. And I'm like, I didn't have any trauma. I don't know what caused it. But he's like, if you want, we can send you to orthopedics and see what they say. Okay. So we go off to orthopedics, and this has now been a year and 4 months since my hysterectomy. But again, I'm just digging. I'm just trying to find answers. So I go to the orthopedic doctor, and he's like, yeah, I don't think this is causing your pain. But let's get an MRI, and let's see what it shows. Okay. So he orders an MRI of my pelvis and my lower lumbar. So go and get those done and get the radiologist report, and it says a bladder diverticulum. And I was just like, oh, maybe that's it. So I Google, because, I'm like all of you guys out there, we Google stuff. And anytime I put bladder diverticulum, female, post-hysterectomy, it kept coming back with urethral diverticulum. And I'm like, but that's not what I searched. I searched bladder diverticulum. Why is it returning all these descriptions of urethral diverticulum? The reason why is because urethral diverticulums are what are common. I mean, it's a rare condition, but that's what is common to females, not bladder diverticulums. So, and I looked at the MRI, and I could kind of see what they were talking about, and it literally was like a straight line along the urethra, and I was like, okay, that makes sense for what I've been going through, because from the beginning I was telling my doctor, like, I really feel like there's something wrong with my urethra. Like, I thought maybe scar tissue. It felt so centered there, the pain. So anyway, I saw him at the end of May. I gotten this report. I think the radiologist report was in April. So I saw my GYN in May, and I was like, okay, I got this done. It kicked this result out. What do you think? So he's like, I think we need to go to a urologist. I'm like, oh God, I don't want to go back to that one urologist. So he puts in the referral, but this time they kicked it off base. So we're military, and if they don't have what's called capacity, they'll send you off base to local civilian doctors. So that's where this went. This kicked me off base. I'm like, okay, I don't have to see that one guy. Thank God. Well, come to find out, they didn't have capacity because that guy was leaving. He was what we call PCSing. So he actually wasn't even a military doctor. He was a civilian doctor. But I guess he was moving to a different location. I don't know. Either way, I'm relieved because he was terrible. But I saw a urologist off base in the summer of 23. I think it was the beginning of July 23. And he looked at my MRIs, and he's like, yeah, okay, this looks like a urethral diverticulum, but it could also be a cyst. Treatment surgery for either one. He's like, but I really should do a cystoscopy to rule out bladder, just to make sure. And I'm just sitting there going, oh my God, the only experience I had was that one with the other doctor, and it was horrific. But the good news is that the doctor matters in the cystoscopy, because that first one, I thought I was literally going to, it hurt. It was right up there with the worst pain. Childbirth, But this guy was like, we'll give you something to relax you. We'll take it easy. night and day difference. I'm not gonna say it was comfortable, you know, it definitely did hurt, but it was way, way easier. So he does the cystoscopy and he's like, you know, it's definitely not bladder, but I can't really see the urethral diverticulum, because apparently they can see it by a little hole. And I'll get into that because I actually did end up with another one soon after, and it was found in the cystoscopy. So, but he put in the diagnosis for urethral diverticulum. I was able to go back to my GYM and we had a couple conversations, and you know, I had to have surgery to treat it. I was kind of nervous about having surgery off base. I preferred to have it on base. So, and I knew at that point that that other urologist was gone. So I was like, okay, can you put this in? And because it's surgery, you know, the incentive for TRICARE, so we're military, you know, it's TRICARE. The incentive there is they're going to save money if they do it. So, water break. Okay, so it's July. He puts it in. I get the referral to the urologist. The base clinic accepts me back. Yay. So I was excited about that. And I end up finally with an appointment to see my doctor, who is now my doctor. He's awesome. Love him too. So the urologist and my GYM, both great guys, great doctors. I see him at the beginning of September of 23. And first thing he says is, we're going to need to do a cystoscopy. And at this point, I'm just like, but I had one. And he's like, no, I need to see it. So we do a cystoscopy the next week, and he sees the hole. And it actually was not overwhelmingly painful. It was on par with the one that I had off base. So both of these cystoscopies were night and day less painful than the douche doctor that did my very first one. So I'm just going to tell you, like, doctor care, you know, the care that maybe they take with how they do the scope, absolutely matters, because these other two doctors, I did not have that level of pain. So he sees the actual hole in the urethra and he's like, there it is. And I was so excited because I'm like, yay, I have a diagnosis. Like, I know what this is now and we can treat it. And yeah, so I ended up with surgery the beginning of October of 23. And unfortunately, you know, I actually got an infection the first week post-op, which is what my doctor thinks actually caused it to not heal well, and it did recur. So the surgery was not bad at all. Like, I was really nervous about it. It was not bad. So I'm not like afraid of a surgery, although this time he said he's going to do something that's called a Marcius fat pad flap, and I think I got that wrong, but it basically strengthens the urethra tissues by using fat from your lady bits. He's going to talk more about that at our appointment, and then I will show that, because that's where this is a great place to leave off. I got us up to that. But to talk a little bit more about the first surgery, it was like 3.5 hours. I had what's considered a large size. It was crescent or saddleback. It wrapped around the urethra, which I think is why it was causing so much pain. It wrapped a lot more around it than the recurrence did. And I'm not having that level of pain this time. So the surgery was great. It was instant relief. You are stuck on a catheter for weeks, and it is the worst by a long shot. Like, the actual surgery, you know, I was freaked out. I thought, oh my God, you know, I was really terrified. Not terrified. I don't want to use the word terrified. I was worried about how much pain it would hurt inside. It really didn't. It was just that damn catheter. It was super uncomfortable, and you're literally stuck on it. You're supposed to be on it for weeks. You know, I've heard stories of people that are on it for 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days. The length of time that a doctor leaves people on these catheters varies so much, but that is pretty much the most common complaint is the catheter. So I'm just going to put that out there. I did have leaking after the catheter came out, and that is what set my doctor's radar off that something wasn't quite right. You can develop incontinence, but it was the type that I was having, because I was having a mix, and I would tell them that it's just random times it would just come out, and it wasn't that I was doing some kind of activity. It wasn't coughing, like things that would normally set it off. I was like, I'll just be standing there and it'll just leak out. And when I explained that to him, he was really concerned that there was a complication going on. He was afraid it was a fistula, which I'm not going to get into because I really don't know much about them. But it wasn't a fistula. It was just, it came back, and the MRI confirmed it. So if you have questions, please feel free to message me. I will, if I get enough questions, I could even do a follow-up video. But my goal is really to get to this first background. And like I said, I'm going to post a link to that Facebook group, because if you're here, if you're watching this video, you are looking for answers, and you're looking for other people that have gone through this that can talk to you, because it is rare. There's not much out there. And it's really painful and frustrating experience for a lot of us. And it can take years to get diagnosed. It took me it was more than a year and a half. Well, for diagnosis, I guess it was technically a year and a half, because it was July of 2023, and my symptoms started at the end of January 22. So yeah, a year and a half. So I'm one of the lucky ones. So anyway, I'm going to get this uploaded. It is my first video. Please be kind. I'm sorry the quality is not great. I'm literally doing this on my iPad in my bedroom. This is my second take, because the first one, the door was slammed shut from a gust of wind. My dog was digging a china in our kennel. Like, it was so loud. So I redid this to try to get it a little bit better. And we're gonna hope it is better. And I also tried to get the iPad a little bit more upright. So we're gonna put this up, and I will, like I said, my next appointment is September 3rd, the beginning of September. My goal for the next one is to film when I see the doctor, not when I'm in with the doctor, because he would probably not want that. So, but cover the stages. And, I'm going to try to get my husband to do some video when I'm in the hospital, just to show you, it's not awful. It really isn't. But I kind of don't really know the full, what to expect, I guess, on the second surgery, because I haven't talked to him yet. He's let me know a little bit about it, but I really don't know a whole lot yet. So I'll share that as I learn it. And then I'm going to have the videos, not live, as it happens this time, instead of just this quick summary of, oh yeah, the surgery wasn't that bad. No. So yeah, let me know what you think. I'll put a link to the Facebook group, and thanks for listening.